Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So tonight, I want to talk about crypto projects to be bullish about, specifically L2 chains that are meant to help scale Ethereum. And of course, this is because Coinbase released Base, their own L2 chain. So let's talk about L2s, and let's talk about, of course, what's going on with Bitcoin and everything else. So let's do this. Welcome, guys. You know what? I'm just going to jump right in. I'm going to jump right in and talk about it. For those of you guys that didn't watch my morning stream, I think I covered it first. And that is when Coinbase, just announced their big thing, the big reveal, right? And it was about their own L2. Of all things, I don't think anyone predicted it. People thought maybe they were going to release a Euro coin. Maybe it was going to be something else. No, they decided to release their own L2 called Base. I think that's a pretty good name if you ask me. Now, Base is based on Optimism, but it's a layer 2 solution helping dApp makers to scale, basically. It's really fast. It's basically feeless, right? And it's just another way, another way for EVM-compatible dApps, right, to make the switch or just move to avoid fees and congestion and all that, the negatives that still exist on top of Ethereum. Now, a couple important things. Number one is there's no new token. There isn't a coin token or a Coinbase token or a Base token. This is just a L2 that's pretty much using ETH at this point. Okay, so they're not coming out their own token. And they do say that even though this is for Ethereum, they do plan on integrating and creating bridges to other chains such as Solana. Coinbase is also a fan of Solana. Coinbase Wallet does support Solana tokens, and they have listed several Solana coins within Coinbase Exchange itself, right? So there's a bigger plan. But one thing I missed from this morning, the biggest plan of all, because I was thinking, like, how does this benefit Coinbase, right? Does it really benefit them? They could just utilize some other L2. Why do they need to come out their own chain, right? How do they benefit this if they're not coming out their own coin? Well, this is the reason why, and I totally missed this morning, but take a look at this. Coinbase would allow developers to integrate or to directly integrate their product with Base and provide fiat on-ramps, okay? That's the important thing. Coinbase is looking at another revenue stream, a new way to make money. So it's one thing to provide a L2 for dApp makers to come on board, but now they could offer those dApp makers a way to fiat on-ramp, right? Using Coinbase. And then guess what? Coinbase could collect the fees. That makes a whole lot of sense. This is the reason why they're doing it. They want to be a fiat on-ramp for dApps. I mean, if you think about it, it's pretty brilliant. If they can draw in a lot of dApps. If they could draw a lot of dApps to Base and be the fiat on-ramp for all those dApps, it would be a big thing for Coinbase. But until then, we don't know. Because right now it's still in testnet. They just released the testnet. They didn't release the full chain. The full chain should be coming out in 2024. That's what I heard. It may come out earlier, but that's the ultimate thing, right? That is the end game for Coinbase. No, they're not trying to profit off some new token. They are simply trying to become a fiat on-ramp for all these dApps. And it makes sense, right? But because of this news, right, Optimism pumped and a lot of L2 pumped. So let's take a look at some of them. Optimism, okay? Now, they have tweeted this, and this is interesting. The build on Base, which is the Base chain, will commit a portion of their transaction fee revenue back to the Optimism Collective. And this furthers the collective's vision for a sustainable future where impact equals profit. So basically, if you read through this, part of the fees collected, okay, from Coinbase will be given back to Optimism, and they will use that to build this super chain. And that is the end goal. The super chain is basically you have Base and then Optimism and plus other chains that are all connected together, working together, being able to communicate and trade between each other. And they're calling it like a super chain. Okay. So it's interesting about that as well. So this is the reason why Optimism probably welcomed Coinbase, not only for the brand recognition, but also they get to build out on what they call their super chain, which if you think about it, is very much like Cosmos and Polkadot and several others that are building a lot of side chains and stuff, but that's what Optimism seems like they want to do. But anyways, so Optimism got a big boost, obviously, from this announcement. So they have been climbing up pretty well. So looking at DeFi Llama, looking at all the L2s basically out there, in terms of total liquidity, of course, Ethereum is still the big daddy, around 59%. But if you look at someone like Optimism, they are sitting at number 7. They had a big growth spurt within the last month, right? And even today and the last week. But their TVL overall is around 900 million, which isn't too shabby, right? One of the biggest out there. And there's a lot of DEXs, a lot of DeFi projects that already utilize Optimism for their basically cheap transactions and highly scalable platform. Some of these I've heard of before, like Curve. I think most of you guys have heard of it. Uniswap, Aave. These are big boys, but there's other ones, Synthetic, which creates synthetic tokens. Velodrome, never heard of them, but they are a DEX. Beefy, I've heard of them. I mean, there's a lot of big projects that's already utilizing Optimism at this point, which is why their TVL is so big, right? So as they bring more users to their platform, more DeFi, more liquidity, it's just going to help them. It's going to help them. And this thing with Coinbase, I think, will bring a lot more attention to them as they try to build out this super chain. So pretty good overall for Optimism. Now, they're not the only player, obviously. There's a lot of L2s, including one that doesn't have a token yet, and that's Arbitrum. In fact, Arbitrum is so large, they have surpassed Ethereum in terms of daily transactions. Think about it. A layer 2 solution that actually surpassed the L1 it's meant to scale. That's how big Arbitrum is, and they are sitting at number 4 with over 1.9 billion TVL. They are absolutely huge, and they do have some big players as well. For example, Uniswap and Curve and Aave, right? Some of the other ones I mentioned, Beefy, Stargate, they have Sushi, they have GMX, Zyber. I mean, they have a lot of volume. GMX is the biggest, and they are derivatives DEX, which is interesting. But yeah, so Arbitrum is also another one, but you know, this is great for dApp makers, but as you guys are watching, if you're looking at, well, is there an Arbitrum token? No, they don't have one yet, but they will have one in the future. But right now, they are definitely helping Ethereum scale and helping their dApp scale. But what about some other ones? Some of the other ones that I've been talking about for a long time, the ones I like, right? For example, let's talk about Polygon and Fantom. Now, Polygon is working on something interesting, ZK EVM, which is meant to scale Ethereum virtual machine, not so much the chain itself, because they're already fast, and so is Fantom. And I found something that's quite interesting, something very interesting about that, because the main architect behind Fantom, who left and came back, Andre Croy, he actually wrote a blog article in November talking about how there's this fad about ZK rollups, right? Using ZK to scale and to add privacy, right? And he believes it's just like a buzzword right now. And what's interesting about this is he believes that the bottleneck right now, right, is really the Ethereum virtual machine. Okay? Interesting enough, he's like, if we remove EVM and just do direct transfers, our TPS caps out around 28,000, okay? But if we enable EVM, we tap out around 700. That's a big drop. So what he's saying is EVM is what's slow. So Fantom is actually working on trying to improve EVM in what they call EVM 2.0 or FVM. Okay, so it's kind of interesting because Fantom already can scale much faster already, but what they're working on is getting the Ethereum virtual machine, which processes smart contracts, to be faster. But that's the thing. Polygon is already working on it, and they're almost out with their ZK EVM. That's exactly what it is. You're taking ZK rollups and you're applying to a virtual machine. This is why I'm bullish on Polygon, because I think this is a game changer. No one else really has this. So this is also being worked on by Polygon. But interesting, both Fantom and Polygon, they both recognize the same thing. And they both have a ton of TVL. So if you look at Fantom, they're about 500 million, obviously a little bit smaller than some of the others, but they have some good integration too with like Beefy and Curve. They have their own Spooky Swap, right? I've used them before, pretty good. Yearn Finance, right? They have a growing ecosystem, and Polygon is huge, above 1 billion, right? And they have some of the biggest names like Aave, Uniswap, Beefy, Curve, Stargate, Sushi, right? And they have their own kind of de facto DEX, which is Quick Swap, and also Balance. I mean, they have a lot. They have a lot, right? But here's the thing. All these L2s, L1s, right? You could say Fantom and Polygon are kind of like L1s because they have their own native chain, but they're EVM compatible. So they're kind of like L1, L2s. But this is the reason why personally, I like L1s, L2s. I like them better than most dApps out there because they're the foundation. They're the base layer for all these dApps. Without these guys, without the Ethereums of the world and Polygons of the world or Fantom of the world, and there's others like Solanas of the world and BNB of the world and Cardano, Solana of the world. I don't know if I said them double, but anyways, these are the ones that are really scaling, and not only that, supporting all the dApps out there, right? So there's a lot of exciting L2s and L1s out there. But the biggest one today that got the biggest recognition, of course, is Optimism because of Coinbase. But besides them, there's so many others. Arbitrum is there, Polygon, Fantom I mentioned, right? BSC, and then you have Avalanche, which is also I'm a big fan of. And those of you guys that continue to support Solana, they're up here. And then Osmosis is part of Cosmos. There's so much. There's so much out there. And as this number gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, the better it'll be for the entire ecosystem and provide more stability and strength to pretty much everything. So that's why these are projects to be bullish about. But outside of Coinbase and L2, what else happened today? Well, the stock market. It was kind of green. It wasn't that much in the green. Still kind of red. Everyone's still kind of scared right now, right? Afraid to jump in, thinking that there's still going to be some next crash. And when you have the IMF saying that crypto shouldn't be legal tender, it doesn't help. It doesn't help. But of course, the IMF is going to say that. They don't want countries to break free. Just like how many of you guys are trying to attain financial freedom, IMF doesn't want these countries to attain financial freedom by adopting Bitcoin and crypto because they're the ones lending them money. They want to control them, right? So obviously, we got some FUD out there, right? But the thing is, I've been saying Bitcoin and crypto will continue forward because more and more people are starting to learn about the shenanigans that the countries are doing, the feds and central banks are doing, especially with inflation high right now and recession. You know what? People are just sick of it, right? And Bitcoin is still doing what it's doing because of the 4-year cycle, right? And this is an interesting one. There's a November 28th cycle series. There is someone that keeps measuring about November 28th and how it's very, very important. But you know what? We are getting to that point. We're getting closer and closer to that point when Bitcoin starts really swinging upwards. We're not quite there yet. We're approaching it, but we're getting closer and closer to the point where Bitcoin is going to start going parabolic. Again, we're not quite there yet, but according to this, November 28th has been the bottom for the 2014 cycle, the 2018 cycle, and the 2022 cycle, and now we're in recovery, but at some point, we will really start moving. So, good stuff. Good stuff. Also, this is showing a lot of stable coins being exchanged for Bitcoin and crypto right now. That makes a whole lot of sense because we are recovering from bottom. There's a lot more enthusiasm, a lot more excitement these days, right? That makes a whole lot of sense. And of course, the holders that are continue to hold Bitcoin, still sky high and growing. Percent last active 1+ years. Just Bitcoin, that's being held for at least 1 year. All-time high at 67%. 67% of all Bitcoin in existence have not moved in 1 year. Think about that. Quite amazing. Quite amazing. All right, guys. Let's do some Q&A. A lot of exciting things happening. Oh, by the way. Well, no, I don't want to show it. I was going to show something Kevin O'Leary said, but it's just pointless to show. So I'm not going to show it. All right, let's do some Q&A. I closed CMC for some reason. All right, I'm scrolling up here. Wes asked, big super chat, do you recommend staking ETH? And if so, through Ledger, Clin, or Lido, or Exchange? Well, just know that no matter where you stake right now, you cannot withdraw it into the next upgrade, which is coming in March, right? Just so you know that. But if you want to earn those rewards now, sure. If you want to lock yourself in and basically prevent you from trading or doing something stupid, then sure. Now, if you do it through someone like Lido, they will give you a synthetic version, right? Coinbase also does this, where they give you a synthetic version where you could do something with it, right? But just know that it has value. If you lose it, then you can't convert back to the original number of ETH that you had, right? And there is still worry that that synthetic version can depeg from the real version, as happened briefly before, right? So just know that there's inherent risk with liquid staking that Lido provides, right? But it's up to you. It's up to you if you want to stake. DB Zoom, been watching your lives lately. Just want to say keep up the good work. Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. And since you are a content creator, then you know how hard it is to do videos twice a day. DB Zoom. Wow, I just realized. Dragon Ball. Man, I'm a big fan of Dragon Ball. Man, you're doing 2 videos a day too. Awesome. Let's see. I'm scrolling down. People are saying IMF is the evil king. I can't disagree with that. Is Ome still goodbye? I'd say so. People are still talking about VV app. They still have all the licensing they had before. So, just quite frankly, NFTs are not that popular right now because, the market is down. But when NFTs get back up again, VV and Omi will do very well, I believe. Miles says, Grandma is saying hi. Hello, Grandma. The guys ask, is asking, but hey, but from Canada, can you give me a quick technical analysis on SHIB? I cannot give you a quick technical analysis on SHIB is pointless. Okay, there's no point to it. The thing is, with SHIB, there's a lot of talk about Shibarium, and I've said that. I covered that many times. I think it's very bullish. Okay, so don't worry about technical analysis on SHIB. When Shibarium launches and successful launch, and there's a lot of burning happening, it will be successful. Right now, Bone is having more success because Bone is going to be the currency for gas, right, with Shibarium. So we'll see when it comes out. If you're going to try those McClung style dunks at your home gym, please live stream it on YouTube. I will do so, but after I lower the rim down to 8 feet, then maybe I could try. But then even then, I'll probably still blow out my knees. So probably not. Probably not. But I can stream from my court once it's done. It's still going to take a while, but it's exciting to see the house being built. I pretty much go to it every day. What happened to Nulls? Just not recovering. Just lost all its support. That's pretty much it. Yeah. Norman. Appreciate it. If you love Cosmos so much, which projects are you bullish on? I'm bullish on Cosmos itself more than anything within it. Cosmos itself, they're about to release their, I forgot the official name. It was called Interchain Security, but Reserve Security, I think that's what they call it, where they will add more value to Atom by allowing smaller dApps to rent consensus from Cosmos, from the main chain. And they have to pay with Atom token. So that's gonna be good. That's gonna be good. I'm bullish on Atom itself. Not that I'm not bullish on the dApps that exist within it, but more on Atom itself. Mad Dog, appreciate it. What's the difference between tokens and coins? Well, people interchange them all the time. I mean, coins are actually, in my opinion, used for transactions. Like stable coins, for example. They're coins. Bitcoin can be used for transaction coins, right? Ethereum, whatever you use to pay for gas fees, you know, they can be considered coins, right? But tokens, I think it's different. It's more meant for utility. Although, again, people interchange the two all the time, right? So it doesn't really, I don't know. I'm sure there's some official definition of either one, but really they just get interchanged all the time. Polygon will never flip Cardano. You sure about that? It's right underneath. They're only separated by 1.5 billion. You sure Polygon's not going to flip? I have a feeling it will. Do you remember the first computer you ever bought? Yes, it was an AMD 486. And I was mad because I was running Doom. That was like the very first game. And it took a lot longer to load on AMD 486 versus Intel 486 that my friend had. And I'm like, why? Why is it so much slower? Well, I knew because AMD was inferior back then and it cost cheaper. But yeah, that was the first computer I built. Yeah. I played around with computers before that, but that was the first one I kind of built. If you were to mine something, what would it be? Probably Bitcoin. I personally don't mine because I think it's just better to use that money to buy the coin you're trying to mine. That's just my opinion. But if you are a miner, you have a really good facility, with good cooling and low cost of electricity, then it may make more sense. How does BTC look to you right now? It looks fine. I don't know how you want me to answer that. It looks fine to me. Comparing Fantom to Matic is like comparing a Kia to Ferrari. Vegeta, you need to cool it. No, that's not what it's like at all. At all. I'll tell you one supercar that is not selling right now, in case you guys are curious, is the Maserati MC20. They created a really cool looking two-door exotic car, but they're selling it for way too expensive. They're coming around 300,000, but they are not selling. There's so many of them being sold right now, and the local dealership just called me and said, hey, we got one, someone changed their mind, you want to take a look at it? Man, they are not selling. Maseratis just do not. No one wants it. No one wants it. Am I into NFT? I'm not big. I have a few, but I'm not big into them. Just never got into them. I'd love to own a Bored Ape, or at least a Mutant Ape someday. I couldn't get myself to get one. I don't even know the base prices on them now. I should take a look. Do you agree that for a 100x potential project must be 10 million? I mean, it's more likely to be a low cap than a big cap, but I don't think that's absolutely necessary. You could have a 20 million or 30 million, right? But of course, it becomes harder. But I think there's more to be found. Grin? I'm not sure what Grin is. Oh, I know them. Aren't they, yeah, they're like a privacy coin. I remember them somehow. They're just way too small with no volume right now. Basically, no one is paying attention to them. My father-in-law got a 760i. Have you seen it? I have not seen many 7 Series, to be honest, because no one really buys sedans these days. So I don't even know what a new 7 Series looks like. I've seen the new X7 and a lot of the new XUVs, but 7 Series, I don't know. What were you doing before YouTube? I was an IT system architect. I've been in IT for, I don't know, 18, 20 years, something like that. Why the new CB base same as Flexa? I have no idea. All right, guys. I'll let you go. Overall, today Coinbase made a big splash. L2s are definitely gaining popularity. I talked about some of them today, but there's a lot more out there. As for Bitcoin, it's holding right around 24,000. There's still a lot of goodness happening right now. So stay strong, my friends, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good one. Take care.